Welcome to Chat with Executives, a podcast where host TA sits down with industry leaders to discuss their experiences and insights on everything from current market trends to long-term strategy. So join us for an informative and engaging conversation.
On this episode of Chats with Executive, I have with me someone I've known, funny enough, for almost 20 years. We happen to have gone to the same secondary school and then the same university. Very interesting and enlightened conversation we're about to have on edtech, non-code tech, bridging the gap between women and tech ecosystem at large is what we're going to discuss on this episode of Chat with Executive. Thanks for joining, Bisola.
Thank you for inviting me.
Interesting. We've really been chit-chatting about different things you're doing. And I think the first thing I want to ask is are there any trends in Nigeria's tech ecosystem that you find very exciting right now?
The trends that I find interesting right now is the health space. For a long time, the attention has been on fintech.
Yeah.
Moving money, right? In fact, nobody even and also for a long time, we didn't see the opportunity in the education industry, right? But for the health sector, these founders are beginning to find innovative ways to reach out to this to their patients. Growing up, and I think that the reason growing up, I'm sure that a lot of African child could relate to not wanting to go to the hospital because the hospitals looked scary.
Yeah, the smell.
It smelled like a better, and and that mindset is what even the aged people are having. Like they're ill, and then they don't even want to go to the hospital, for instance. But right now, they are making the health space look exciting. So somebody was speaking on Twitter about how maybe he went to, is it South Africa? And then he saw a lot of people with braces and a lot of people with glasses, aged people with glasses. And it's not because they could afford it, but because they are sensitized to know that this is a problem. But, in Africa, or let's say in Nigeria, a lot of people are battling with illnesses. And then they are moving. They're not aware. But, when you see health startups, going around to inform. In fact, there was a friend of mine that told us about, she going to the beer parlor, to talk to people about the impact of all of these things on their liver. You understand? Like Nigerians have to have fun. So I think I find the health space interesting right now. Although there's still space, there's a lot of possibilities out there. And even at Use and Tech, my long-term aim is that our women can come up with femtech solutions, innovative solutions to the
issues
women are facing. If you are not, so the first step is to at least educate them on technology, which is where the non-coding aspect comes into place. When you come to Use and Tech, there's a business problem that you need to solve, and then you're using technology to solve it. So I find the health space interesting. Like the pharmacy, people are subscribing for drugs for their parents from anywhere in the world, so they don't even need to go to the local pharmacy, or they are not, they're not exposed to the expired drugs, or in fact, or fake drugs. So I think they're solving that, and then being proactive to taking their health. All of those vitals.
That's sorry to cut you there. I think that's also one of the things I find very interesting about Health Tracker. I've often said that if you're very health sensitive, the health system actually will frustrate you or change you from being health sensitive because you there's nothing wrong with you. You just want to check
preventive.
You just want to update and know what's going on with you, and then you go to the lab and then you're seated for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
Or you don't even know where the next lab is.
Or you don't know where you can take that type of test.
Yes. And most of those labs are probably in one corner of the street, but you don't know. You don't know they exist. And the popular ones are not either accessible or quite pricey.
Yeah.
You understand? So those
I interestingly also know the two ladies in Famaron.
Okay. There's even
they're
one
friends.
pharmacy
Okay.
that is also solving a similar problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
They-
So,
I
but
mean-
although we still have a long way to go, so we have this course at Use and Tech Bioinformatics,
Okay.
where you run data on genes, genomics, for instance. Although we don't go into in depth like the Python, because you need to use Python to analyze, the data.
Okay.
But the bioinformatics is telling you that there's a category of people who have a particular illness in it's a certain area.
Yeah,
Why? Why do they have this kind of thing? Why? So do you want to do a blood test? Do you want to get that data? Do you want to do a test on 500 people or 1,500 people to see why these issues keep coming up? You understand? It's not new in the developed world. It's developing, but in Africa we are not there yet. We are not there yet, but I hope that at least with the awareness we'll get there. So the health sector is what I'm actually interested
And
in.
I hear that it remains very difficult. That is one of the most difficult startup now. I think the jury is out on that, on how difficult health tech actually is, for many reasons. But let's talk about the particular skills and qualities that you think tech professionals should focus on to succeed, especially in the non-coding areas.
Basically, soft skills.
Really?
Just soft skills, yeah. And
for non-code?
Yeah, for non-code, soft skills. When people ask me why we've been able to grow so fast, I think one of the reasons is because when I started Use and Tech, I focused on the soft skills. Women already have the soft skills, the communication, the emotional intelligence, the research skills. You just keep asking questions. Why is this happening? Why is this business problem happening? Right? So let's say, for instance, you want to solve, speaking on health, for instance, you want to solve like maybe mastitis or maybe breast cancer, for instance. A woman is intuitive enough, right, to know that maybe there's something going on. I remember maybe a certain family friend that did something happened. Like, all of those skills are what is important, because by the time you begin to solve business problems, just like your own business, for instance, it just takes research skills. So by the time and the willingness to learn, because what we always say is that everybody all over the world is learning something new. So right now you can jump into it. So once you have those soft skills, communication skills, managing people, women are skilled with that already, because in a household of, let's say, a family of 5, they are the ones holding the home. So they have all of these skills inbuilt. So you are bringing it to the place of work. Collaboration, they are the ones organizing the party. They are the ones saying, oh, don't feel bad. So they are proactive enough. So when you have all of these skills, and then you had technical skills to it, I think
it's phenomenal what you can get from it. Because I've often said it that when my thoughts and approach to how people talk about feminism are often different, because let's be very sincere, men and women are not the same. On the average, from like the age of 10, a woman is going to have to manage a menstrual cycle. That means that every month there's something you have to take care of that you don't really have control over. When you compare that to the male child, there's nothing. So it means that by the time a male child is 21, a female child has spent 11 years managing something, no matter how small that thing is. If you look at the 10,000 hours of mastery, which they say you most likely will achieve in 10 years, so that means as small as managing a monthly cycle is, a woman has attained some level of mastery by the age of 21.
And then she has done some research, especially if she has issues with endo.
Exactly.
Yes.
So there's some
She's taking
skill.
Responsibility.
Yeah. So there's
being responsible.
Exactly. So when you compare it to a male child, there's really nothing that is placing a demand, on a male child.
Coupled with the social cultural
So
issues
I
that
feel
we
like
face in the
yeah. So when you look at it, so I agree with you completely that adding the technical skill makes women become a firepower really.
yeah,
You know.
like for instance, when going back to, I always go back to use and tech.
Yeah.
Men join us, right? Men join us, and they always marvel at the intensity that these women bring to class, the energy that these women bring to class. You'll be surprised that the women are faring better than the men when
You
it
know
comes to. And sometimes I think that in the UK it's common, the boys' school and the girls' school. It's in Nigeria too, but it's not really as dominant as it is in the UK, where the boys learn. So there's this study that says that boys just learn differently than girls, and the girls learn faster. Actually, yeah. So they want the boys to exit. So I think they decided to just demarcate everyone and then apply different teaching approach to it.
Interesting. I'm hearing
Yeah.
that for the first time.
Yes.
I mean, of course, there have been notions where people say that girls grow faster than boys.
But
Boys
it's
will
not
play
just
catch up,
it's not just grow faster in all areas.
It's
applies
incredible.
to-
I mean, again, just give credence. You were talking earlier, and you told me how you've had to manage 2 kids without help. I still really can't wrap my head around that.
Women can do difficult things.
I can't.
Women can do difficult things. I mean, have you been into the labor room before?
I have. I have.
Women can
And
do
I still think I got lucky. Yeah, I still
that you
think
survived, that you came out
No.
alive.
In all fairness, I was only there for what, maybe 3 hours. So I really constantly say that. Actually, I was lucky.
Yeah, so you just going back to the menstrual cycle example you gave, you understand? I think we are just built to do difficult things. For instance, in the West also, it's like that. Most of them do not have help. So it's either you put your life on hold, something has to give. It's either you put your life on hold and you focus on building your career, or you build your career and then you focus on, you put a hold on, building your
Raising
family.
kids.
But something has to give. And the earlier you realize that,
So you have to make a decision, because I was going to ask you,
that
how do you
decision.
strike a balance?
Oh, so there's no balance. There's no balance. If you know me quite well, if you reach out to me by 2 a.m., I will respond to you because I'm working, right? So my kids go to bed and then I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, so for instance, my team members know that they can receive a message from me, but they don't necessarily have to respond. But that is when I'm being able, to focus on myself. You understand? So during the day, I'm like, I'm still juggling between family and my business. But, that the time between 10 to 2 a.m. is when I, focus on myself and what I want to do. What exactly do I want to do? Because you also need solitude.
Yeah.
And it's why you don't really see me around. A lot of people don't know who the brain behind
Use and
tech, because I have to either choose. I have to choose. I can't be everywhere. So something has to give. But women are doing it.
I mean,
Women are doing it.
it's incredible. What are, like, difficulties that can be overcome when it comes to transitioning into tech, but cannot be avoided?
It's just plainly mindset. The difficulties. So the difficulties we've seen in Nigeria, for example, the environment is stressful. Nigeria is designed to be. We don't know this yet, because if you don't move out of the country, you would not know that
there's no contrast.
It's not normal for you to spend 1 hour on the road. You understand? Just getting something. Or it's not normal for you not to have electricity or fast internet. Some people have been able to navigate it, but it's not mainstream. It's not mainstream. You are in class and your internet, decided to, mess you up, right? We always say Africa is not ready. I was having a chat with a friend someday, and she was like, Africa is not ready for this innovation. I'm like, yeah, Africa is not ready for editech online. So, because when you look at it, how many people can spend hours, just watching a particular video? but the enabling environment is not there. But we are still trying.
Fine.
If you keep trying, the mindset that okay, you can do this, find a way around it, even if it means that you have to stay awake all night. Yeah. And then for our immigrants outside of the country, for example, the constant the constant need to be on the move, the constant need to be paying bills, you understand, is also something that's hold a lot of them back, because the bills are not waiting, and you don't have the patience. You don't have the patience to apply for that job, so you just want to take the next affordable available job. Even if you've done the training, you're like, oh, I have this shift, I have to move. So that's one of the problems that we see. And then of course, financing, especially in Africa, for example. I always say quality education is not cheap. It's not cheap. I mean, there's a reason why all of these large MOCs have like the completion rate of 4%. It's easier to start, and I want to start this thing, but that discipline to complete it is not there. People want hand holding. People want to speak. Even as adults, they want to speak with people. They want to ask questions. You understand? So when you want to have like a live class, for example, it comes at a cost. It's not cheap, because the facilitator is giving you a time, his or her time, you understand, constantly preparing you. So it's not just about learning the skill, it's also motivating you. They're also saying, oh, you have an interview, I'll be there. I mean, imagine contributing like hours, hundreds of hours, just for a particular student to X. So it comes at a cheap, so at a fee. So when you look at the West, for instance, they have all of this sorted out. I mean, I can decide to take a $10,000 course, even if I don't have anything in my account, because
somebody's going to pay for it.
Somebody's going to pay for it. I can subscribe to a financing option, but it's not there. And the banks that are providing these options charging like a rate of 28%. I mean, that's a lot of money.
20% where?
Interest.
In which country?
In Nigeria, yeah. You understand?
That's a lucky number. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, 20% per annum is a lucky number in with the inflation and everything that's going on.
So yeah, exactly. So education, to me, the challenges are there.
Yeah. With all these challenges, what motivated you, and what ignited your interest in edtech?
Okay. So what motivated me was I started my career in tech.
Oh,
actually.
Okay.
So I started my career in a Jobberman, and then I moved to hotels NG, and then I moved to Oracle.
I see.
Right. I started my career quite early. So, a lot of people don't know that before I decided to settle down and get married. So I was at home running my business and taking care of my children, right? Okay. And then I noticed that when I talk about technology, they're always surprised that I know a bit much about it. And then there was this myth that, then technology was about tech bro. You had to be tech bro. It looked boring. And I'm like, I've always worked in technology, and
it's not boring.
It's not boring. And I never touched the line of code. That's number one. And then number two, there are different aspects to technology. So when you look at the multinationals in Nigeria, for instance, or in Africa, for instance, the developers are not in Africa. There's a shop where they build all of these products. These multinationals understand it, that there's an aspect of building, and then there's this aspect of reaching out to the target audience, and then there's this aspect of managing the people you sold this product to. So there's a lot of stakeholders, but people don't know that. People don't know. They just feel that to become somebody and to become like a technologist or a tech bro or sis, you have to code. And I'm like, no, you don't need to. Technology is about solving a problem. So, and then I always say that Nigeria is not fortunate to be able to attract all of these organizations. So let's say, for instance, I like to look at things from a global perspective. Okay. When you go to Canada, for instance, or UK or US, Salesforce is like the major CRM.
Yeah.
Major CRM. But Salesforce is not they don't have an office in Nigeria. So a lot of people don't know that this technology exists. You understand? But because I've worked in like multinational, I understand some of these products. I understand their competitive products. I understand that, this country, this is what you can do to break into this country. You don't need to do that menial work to get into it. But because Nigeria is not on that radar, we tend to miss out on a lot of
On
things.
lots of things.
But that doesn't mean that we are not smart. We are smart, right? We are hardworking. So the only thing is just for us to be exposed to the information,
Right tools.
and which we've been able to do. Which we've been able to do, like a stay-at-home mom, for instance, who studied computer science. She didn't work for 10 years. She lost her husband, and her family took over the entire property. That's yours. I didn't even know that something like that still existed. So she was like, oh, she doesn't even know what to do. She has wasted 10 years. Like, you didn't waste your 10 years. You're taking care of the home. So she studied computer engineering, and she was like, she has interest, but there was no platform for her to express it. So she took the Salesforce course, right? And before she knew it, I think she got in touch with it. There's this hospital in Ikoyi called Pelon Hospital.
Okay.
They implemented Salesforce to manage their patients, right? And she was hired, to become the administrator. You understand? So we've seen cases like that. The technologies are there, but there's nobody to fill up that space. There's nobody to fill up that space. The opportunities are there. So, yeah, back to your question. I mean, technology is not boring. It's just solving a particular problem. And it's not about coding. It's not about coding. So what we've done at Use and Tech is to make it simple and lure people to it, like to make the technology colorful, to want people to be able to say, I want this thing.
What keeps you going? With all this, difficulty and everything you mentioned, what keeps you going?
The student stories, that's what keeps me going. I'm passionate about education. I'm sure you know that, from my background, I take quality education seriously. I just like to disseminate information. I want people to excel. I think I'm like a shepherd, maybe as also the firstborn too. I just like to guide people to say, no, you don't have to do that. There are better ways to do this. So that's, even though it's difficult, those inbuilt, in nature that I have, the qualities I have, is what keeps me going. And when students are saying, oh, thank you, I just didn't know that, I could start my life all over again. I thought I just wasted my time taking care of children at the home front, so I lost my job and I lost my self-esteem. You don't have to lose your self-esteem. It's just a job. You can upskill and get back.
One.
Yeah, so those are the stories that just keep me going.
Aside wanting to break the gap between women and tech, what would you say has been, and the stories that you've talked about, what would you say are the other things that encourage you to keep going, or the supports that you've received to keep going?
In terms of supports, I haven't received any supports from, maybe, let's say, the government, for instance, because you'd think that maybe the government should support
Things like
you, right? The only support is from our community members, right?
Is it that difficult to also raise finance for EdTech?
Yes.
Why?
It's quite difficult because a lot of investors don't see the scalability. They don't see this. Most investors want times 10 of their returns. That's number one. And then number two, they want you to guarantee 1 million students or 100 million students. Like, Money Points, for example, has like 300 million subscribers. They want EdTech to have that kind of number. But education is different. The education is not like downloading an application. Education to me is reinforcement. Like, you just keep telling this person that this is it. That was why we had like 6 years, spent 6 years in school, right?
School, yeah.
Or 4 years in university.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's just keep telling this. Let's keep pushing it to them. Let's keep pushing the agenda. So the numbers for a lot of investors is not really attractive. And the environment too, the purchasing power also. Because if, for instance, you want to guarantee like 1 million annual revenue, for instance. How do you want to make that, like leveraging quality education? There just has to be another way. You understand? So maybe, continuously speaking about it, tweaking your business model. I think that works. Tweaking your business model works, but you also need to look at the impact. So for instance, I want 1 million students, but what if I'm able to get like $100 from 1 million students? But what if they're not getting the impact? I mean, you as an educationist, you don't like that.
Yeah.
You don't want it, but if it makes the investors excited, I mean, if that's what you want to do, so you really need to look. It's about the impacts and what you want to achieve. What you want to achieve. And in the West, we have like dedicated investors in the education space. So these are people that have gone to universities, probably PhD students who value education. So those kind of people, when you speak to them about your challenges, they get it. They get it. But in Africa, you see people like, I only invest in fintech. I only invest in health tech.
Returns,
I only invest in this. And I'm like, okay, that's nice.
I mean, in the face of all of this, what would you say has been your defining moment? How old is Ilse Tech?
We are 3.
3 years.
Yes.
What would you say has been? What would you say is or are the defining moments for you in the last 3 years?
Defining moments. We've had lots of defining moments, but the most important is the student stories. So because it's beyond the accolade. I'm not. So maybe some people will say, okay, yeah, when we made it to maybe NASDAQ, for instance, in New York. I mean, I'm a shy person, so I don't really see like the impact of that, right? But when students say that they lost themselves, people don't know that as an adult you can go through things.
Yeah.
Right? Or they got married and then they just became something else. Like I used to that, or they would say, I used to be very brilliant and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to me. Life happened to me. And, me being amidst people who are pushing me, to become better has reignited, something new. Right now, I'm thinking of, building solutions for the world. I mean, that makes us happy as a brand. That makes us happy because education, like I always say, is a weapon, and it just brings out the best in you. It's beyond I'm sending 1 naira to one person. It's like you are touching the soul of that person. You are transforming their lives, which should also in turn transform the family also, because now their lives are not, the same any longer. So the transforming the moment for me is when the students come back to say, no, thank you. We've had like students get jobs in AWS in the United States, and we are in Nigeria, for example. I mean, those kind of news bring joy. I could have decided that let me wait for my kids to become like 10 years and then I start the business. Something has to give, but I'm juggling it, right?
It seems like you're doing it so well.
It's
Whatever superpower you have, perhaps you want to put it in a bottle.
Yes,
because it looks like it's a lot.
Yeah, but yeah. So when a student get jobs in the governments of of countries, like they're in Canada, for instance, they are making policies. Those are what gives us joy. That okay, because you impacted this person. That's what defines my own moment for me, not the monetary aspect
of it,
or maybe the awards or anything. The students itself.
What are the efforts that you think we need to start making to close the gender bias, the gender gap?
The effort,
in especially in technical roles in Nigeria.
The efforts, awareness. We need to push it aggressively. So we use mainly one channel, that's social media, right? But imagine you go on NTA and the messaging is there. You go on local news, the messaging is there. You travel to a village, the messaging is there. You understand? Because one of the reasons why women don't go into tech is because when we're secondary school, for example, the boys go to Introtech, Agric, the girls like to go to Food and
Food
Nuts.
and
Like
nutrition.
it's been designed that way. So they just grow up and then they just want to continue. That's why you have like lots of food bloggers, women, you understand? Then the men. So the awareness is important. The awareness. The support, the government support is also important. The government has to support. There's nothing we can do.
From
If
a
you want to
policy
teach
point of view, from a funding point of view.
policy point of view, education is not let's encourage 1 million people to take one course and you're not measuring it. We need to begin to measure the effectiveness of these courses, and then support mushroom the people at at the lower level also. Teachers, boot camps. Boot camps are also important, even if they've not raised funds or they are not out there. All boot camps are important. That guy in the corner of the street teaching, someone graphics design is also important. The government needs to find a way to reach out to them. It's not just about going to all of these larger organizations like Microsoft and then maybe Google, for instance. Every stakeholder is important, and the government has to find a way to bring everybody on board, support them, push them. I mean, somebody in Ajegule would not log on to Microsoft, but does not even know what Microsoft is. We understand, but are there people in Ajegule teaching these kids? The government needs to support them. That's the
In 3 years, are there like partnerships that have really helped Use and Tech to grow?
if I you'd not believe this, but Use and Tech has just grown mainly on the B2C customers, students, alumni
On its own.
on its own. And
Are there partnerships that you've tried and haven't just worked out?
Yeah, maybe in the pipeline. I want to believe that someday.
Are there some kind of partnerships that you are interested in or you're looking forward to in that space?
Yes.
What kind of partnerships are you looking
So, for instance, I am aware that the banks, for instance, partner with foreign brands like Udacity, to train Nigerians, but they've ignored the
at?
indigenous trainers. Yeah,
Okay.
that's one aspect, and then partnerships like supporting the students, bringing them on board. There's a competitor who was trying to get peer student with organizations. If the government says that, if the government set up a policy that every bank should hire at least a certain quota, they would not have a choice. You understand? But that does not exist. That does not exist.
I mean, in the oil and gas space, NCDMB, which is Nigerian Content Development Management Board,
Okay.
they have some human capacity development policies and regulations that is really focused, in the oil and gas space. And I know that in one of the recent regulations, oil and gas companies are supposed to make a 3% contribution of project to capacity development and training. I think that perhaps maybe we need to start looking at things like that in technology space.
Yeah. So okay, for oil and gas, maybe they focus on the kids from Delta.
Actually, not only, because what the regulation is now saying is that no, we're not talking about corporate philanthropy. We're saying, you have to build real technical capacity. So, for example, majority of the divers in that space are still foreign divers. We need Nigerians who are competent and trained enough to go into that space.
Just like what Dangote did by hiring.
I mean, it's not confirmed. I don't. But
enforcing.
Yes, enforcing some. Because again, what we must also realize is that, because of the catch up we're playing in certain segments, you want to be sure that we don't have a policy that is forcing you to employ or engage people that are incompetent. You want competent and And sometimes it's you often can have a chicken and the egg situation in some of those situations where there's a sense of urgency on the project, but you also need to train people. You now have a situation where, like, with the sense of urgency on those projects, I might as well just bring in an expert to get it going. If I say, okay, let me bring in an expert and still use some hands that are just trying to, learn the ropes, like, things are going to be slowed down. But I hear you, and I agree with you that, it's something that government needs to pay
Yeah, so yeah,
particular attention
exactly.
to. For women facing imposter syndrome or self-doubt in pursuing tech careers, what advice do you have for them?
Imposter syndrome to me is just like an emotion. It's just like happiness, like fear, like anger. It's normal.
How do you deal with it?
You just have to speak to yourself, to challenge yourself, tell yourself that you can do it. It's that simple. Everybody experiences imposter syndrome.
Really?
Yes.
You think everybody does?
Yeah, everybody
I've seen
does.
some people really boast, and I'm like,
Yeah,
do you
they're
have any
confident.
speck of
No,
imposter
yeah,
syndrome?
if you have a deep conversation with them, they will tell you, they would confess. I mean, I think everybody's just acting. But imposter syndrome, we should know that
I think I have imposter syndrome.
everyone has it. Everyone has it.
It's not good enough.
Yeah,
There's still more to be done.
yeah, everybody has it. If you speak with Obama, for it, he's going to tell you that. He's going to tell you that. If you speak with Joe Biden, he's going to tell you that. That he has that fear sometimes, that feeling of, I
It's not
can't.
enough.
Yeah, but you keep pushing it regardless. We move.
What are your predictions for women and the future of the tech ecosystem in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, the awareness is there. People are interested now. That's the joy. So it's not like you are breaking your back
You're back.
to say, Nigerians naturally love education.
Yes, we like to read.
We love to read.
Certificates.
Yeah, we love certificate. So the only challenge I just see is getting that quality, going through that rigor, and breaking through all of the barriers. You understand? Which, of course, we have to deal until maybe the government steps in. But the future is, I'm seeing that we are going to be seeing a lot of innovation
From women.
from women. Because once you're educated, your mind is open. And once you see that your fellow person is doing something, you are challenged to also try. So we are going to see lots of innovation. You are already seeing it. You're already seeing it, especially you can see that, if you have the numbers, I think the women are dominating in the health.
Yes, in the health tech space.
Health tech space, because of who we are, right? But the future is great.
What female-led tech startups in Nigeria, would you say have really motivated you? I mean, it can be more than one.
I think I'm inspired by female in technology, right?
Yeah.
I think Dr. Ola, yeah.
Okay.
She has done a great job. She has done a great job. Then Arua Capital also. I think she's doing a great job. She's been disbursing funds, supporting, female entrepreneurs and the men also. But then you can just see clearly, the difference when these funds are injected. Yeah, so I think Arua Capital is doing a great job in that aspect.
All right. Thank you very much. We have a tradition on this podcast, started recently, really inspired by, another podcast that speaks to business owners and that's Diary of a CEO. It's called Conversation Cards. There are questions that CEOs from all over the world have asked other CEOs on that podcast. And so I have a number of those cards, and what you're going to do is to pick one out of these cards, and I'm going to ask you the question that you picked.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay. Okay, pick it. All right. Wow. You know what's very interesting? The person who asked this question is a Nigerian. Israel Adesanya. You know him?
He's a boxer.
The UFC guy. Yeah.
The boxer, right?
Yes, yeah.
I got it.
How are you truly feeling?
Oh, today I'm excited.
Okay, great stuff. Tell me what's exciting today.
Oh, the fact that a student got a job in Deloitte, Canada. I mean, that was the news I woke up to today. It just truly feels great, despite the fact that the data says there are no tech jobs, or there's this, there's that. I mean, our students are excelling. I mean, it's great news.
All right, fantastic. Okay.
That's a global organization,
Yeah.
and she's not the first. She's not the first, so it means that it's becoming a trend.
A trend. Awesome. You're doing a good job. You're doing well. All right, pick another one. We're going on 3, so. All right, this is from Sir David Belford. If you had a twin, what is the most important bit of advice you could give them?
Of course, the two would work really hard, right? But also try to live a peaceful and soft life, right?
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure people appreciate the value of peace in this the world is so chaotic, right? And people are not saying that we should work towards finding that peace. So whatever it is, I'll tell my twin is just optimize your life for peace.
Okay, interesting. And the very last one. That very one, okay. Okay, very similar to the first question. I think this from Patrice Evra. Are you happy? I think you already answered.
Yeah, I'm happy.
All right. Thank you very much, Bisola, for
Thank
joining us
you.
on Chat with Executive. It's been a pleasure having this chat with you.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing the very impactful work you're doing with EOS and Tech. And I believe that very soon we'll chat again.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, then. See you on the next one.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Yeah, cheers.